Hey, hey, two cats I left primary. Change license, please.
Miss teacher, good morning.
Why you late?
Oh, my main champion.
Why you late?
My name my last warning.
Why you late? Beja bear, bear me. Why you late?
Say major good morning.
Hey, why you late?
Oh, my main champion.
Oh, why you late?
My name my last warning.
Hey, why you late? Bear me. You fast, but why you late?
Hey, school the big keke. You just for know your F again. Ha, hello darling, brother. You for wake up.
Say major home pay myself. What time I need to have it last time? Baby, I'm a best one. I would do my time 11:30. Then put us in my bante.
What bantem won? Me catch you, I won't so walk catch you. This boy and kasa you don't respect. I should to be the assign me he cry as a war. I be feeling class test. You waba baby, John Bulu se wine. Could you crab or no free pantine? And then I show my home papa. So why we are where pass away from quiet.
This one is not my fault. I'm coming inside, I get call. It's not a phone call, it's not a home call. This one is a special nature's call.
And so, what are you waiting for? Menya nice, my moko ngwaso. Ope crack on Niger, offer pastor. Come lie down, you fast my time, oko.
Say time media German in court. Me fifi and no one in pipe. Say headmaster who me cry on Kemunko. So dear unye moche apostle.
Ready fool, shall I want my minja?
Oh say please.
Say fin, wum wadi, shen sama wujna hockey cat. Mema mi boom, funya sa sembeba, yo.
Say who me mobile wine and me medium. Me I have the tension, crowd me do dum. Or china cry for you me draw. I'm come to bomb me and me who I shall was so bad.
Hey, school the big keke. You just for know your F again. Ha, hello darling, brother. You for wake.
It's a very bright and sunny mid-morning here in Accra. To our viewers around the world, we say welcome to News Magazine with me, Irbad Ibrahim, and my colleague. And today, as usual, we continue our discussion on education. We have a very vocal guest in the person of Frankie Eboa, who will help us understand the nuances of teaching at the high school level, the junior high school level. But before then, Abna will take us through the trending news. Abna, what do you have by way of trending news?
Okay, we've got some pack stories for today. And then the first one says, high cost of internet killing African music. Yvonne Chaka Chaka says this from My Joy Online.
There is GAMRO, and there are a host of other associations that stand for the welfare of musicians. But since the days of Pure Monko, since the days of the tape, the little tape we used to enjoy music on, everything has been digitized now. So people should have their songs on iTunes before they can make some money. And when you upload stuff onto the internet on YouTube, depending upon the number of hits or clicks, you could make some money. So royalties, charging media houses and pubs for playing your music, those attempts have fallen flat. So I agree with her that yes, of course, if people pay less for data, many more people can enjoy music. And the higher the numbers, the greater the returns that those African musicians will have. Even though I'm not a strong, big fan of music, contemporary music, so to speak. You like music, right?
Yes, I love music.
Blues or country music or hip-hop?
Oh. I love classical music.
Oh, classical. You know, young men like hip-hop and hip life, as we call them. We call it in Ghana. Yeah.
Anyway, away from that, government secures 100 million to upgrade technical universities infrastructure. This is from City News.
And good luck to government. Education is very important. And if there is a deficiency in infrastructure, that is when you hear cases of schools under trees, when you hear double track system, because we can't take all the students at the same time. And so if we are pumping this much, 100 million US dollars, and I believe that can erect a lot of buildings We need better equipped laboratories, we need libraries, we need recreational centers on campuses and all that. So therefore, it was going to be a huge investment. And some have also predicted that 2019 will be a year of infrastructural boom, because government, based upon the budget that was read recently, has made a commitment to spending so much on educational infrastructure.
Okay, with reference to what I had just read, do you see the future of our double track system coming back to the normal
yes,
system we had already?
Free SHS still remains a very fledgling and nascent idea in this part of the world.
Okay.
So therefore, when we try after some time and we think we have the wherewithal and capability to absorb hundreds of thousands of students at the same time, then I believe we'll go back mainstream, so that students will go back to the normal days of going to school without the double track system.
Okay, that's a good news to hear then. Okay, away from that, Ghana Health Service launches anti-yellow fever campaign, targets over 5 million for vaccination. This is from my joy.
And people die of, diseases that are curable, that are preventable. But unfortunately, in Africa, because people can't even afford 3 square meals, regular checkups are seen as luxurious things to do. Our health should be of utmost importance to us. Eat more veggies, vaccinate your kids where necessary, go for regular checkups. I don't. I can't be preaching virtue and be practicing vice. I'm not a hypocrite, I don't. But on a normal day, people should be going for regular health checkups so that they can stop some of these ailments before they even start. But for those that can cause pandemic situations for us, cholera, yellow fever and others, the onus lies upon government to do what it can to protect the populace.
Okay. Still on my Joy News portal, Mansour Nkonsa's killing. Families demand independent prosecution of 21 police. This is from Joy as well.
That is in a constituency in Kumasi where I was born, not in Kumasi, within that same constituency. In fact, Adnan, one of the people who were killed, I wouldn't call him a childhood friend. He was an acquaintance. And frankly, some of the press releases you saw on that subject actually came from me. Because I'm from the area, I'm an indigent of that area. So we are not contented that only this clearance has been given. So somebody erred, and this was a costly error. People's lives have been lost. So we just say that, okay, well, the Ashanti Regional Police Commander can just be there. This was an error. Would he be happy if it were his nephew or his son? That was one of the 7.
Surely not.
So therefore, people should be prosecuted. They should face the music for perpetrating such a brutal and heinous act of violence against innocent civilians.
Definitely. Moving
so
forward.
The guys were not armed robbers. They were not armed robbers.
Okay. Moving forward, borrowing can disrupt growth. Government warned as debt hit 170.8 billion. This is from Joy as well.
There is a burgeoning, increase in how much we are borrowing as a country, but the government says it is borrowing smart. So if you borrow, but then when we borrow, quite unfortunately, we invest in things that do not generate any further income. If you borrow money to build up a cathedral, it won't generate any income for you.
Definitely not.
So therefore, if we borrow and we pump the money into ventures, that will generate money for the country, because we are mortgaging the future of this country. Because you may sign off on an agreement today, and posterity will continue to pay for decades to come. So therefore, more borrowing is not good. We are not in good business if we have to borrow to do basic things as a country. So let's be innovative. There's so much talk about IGFs, internally generated funds. Let's be innovative and see how things go. There is
a saying that goes leadership by example, and people actually borrow money to go and do wedding. Do you, having our leaders borrowing to build a cathedral, it's not going to be helpful to the country, or it's not going to be helpful. It's not going to bring any, income. And so if we are also learning from that, do you think, I mean, do we have a future, like, as a country? Because I don't see...
They say even the United States is indebted. It has debt running into trillions of dollars, so to speak. It is indebted to China in some cases. So it's not in itself a bad idea that there is interstate and intercontinental dependency. That is how we live in a contemporary geopolitical world now. But then if your whole life is about borrowing, you want to do free SHS, you need subvention. You want to do this, you need to borrow and all that. Then you are not looking so good on the box. So therefore, we can drift a bit away. His Excellency says, a Ghana beyond aid. So therefore, let's not only shrug off the aid, let's shrug off the excessive borrowing as well.
Okay, moving forward, staff increment at presidency on true numbers to reduce by 69 in 2019.
This is a partisan story. Well. We leave that to the politicians to do their banter.
Okay, and then the next one says, Obrinpong's writes, 1 million tons cocoa target threatened by a cash-trapped PBC from City.
Ghana was the largest producer of cocoa till we lost that accolade to La Côte d'Ivoire. So we urge Ghanaians to be patriotic. The cocoa roads need to be fixed. So that transporting the cocoa from the farms will become easy for the farmers and the middlemen and women that work in that regard, Cocoa Board and other state agencies that are statutory, and they have the mandates to make sure that we make the best we can from that natural resource. Tete Kwashe will be rolling in his grave in utter dismay at what is happening to Ghana's cocoa today. So let's do our best, and the smuggling also has to end. I do retraining for security personnel. This past weekend, we were in class. When I was giving the lecture, somebody gave me a terrifying story about impounding some containers. And a call came from a minister that those transporting the contraband were his boys, so they should be let go. So therefore, smuggling is hurting the cocoa business for us as a country, and we need to tackle that so that we make the best optimal returns we can as a country.
Definitely. And Ghana is known to be one of the countries that produces cocoa in large quantity. And so, I mean, whatever we feel we can do to help or to ease cocoa farmers to do their job, I think we should be able to do it in good faith. Anyway, that's all for our trending news for today. I'll take a leave of everybody. I'll be back with some comments. Keep watching Newsmax, and my name is Abina Safo.
Abina Safo. We'll go for a quick commercial break. There is a very strong woman here. She's the only female camera woman we have. She's part of a very solid production team, Nana Ama Boateng. We'll go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we sit with Frank Yeboah to discuss junior high school. Do stick and stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Nipa how ene ne da achenti e na abribia wo sori kre ehwehwe na ahoto ne nso e ma prekope en kukuhwe ase ene wo how bebre ene wo mu wenti e na Kantanka TV ya hwehwe dwumedie foforo kra ya to din se edwaso nsem wo dwaso nsem dwumedie so ne beba kna adwadifo ne abusa wo mo how ene wo mama ne wo mo efamu na empo se edaw bitai akira a wo de pre ahwehwe won da achen ahoto eno ti hia wo bia ba ama adwobi e wo Kantanka TV ne afa edwaso nsem enfamro.
Bemba tampi ubeti boboli bobo obeba no bi apuse sram ubeti boboli bobo se usiro adaye su beba beti boboli bobo boy se usiro mama adaye su beba beti boboli bobo. Oti I saw them, one fan crop for it. Oti I saw them, I can't share any more. Oti I saw them, ye booty. Oti I saw them, Washington P. Ye, Oti I saw them, I bet some, I send him. I die so pepper, I die would have been pepper. I die drink one pepper, Betty Boboli Bobo, who Betty Bobori Bobo. Ubeti bombori bomba Sawuswa Sawusiro Adaye subeba beti bombori bomba Sawuswa Sawusiro Adaye subeba beti bombori bomba Sofu mami pa Na hoku tokwa Osofu kokaya Osiwuna nyamia frewa Anodie wantiri Yawaya na wayano what you saw them, I saw Penny, Uriano who did it, or to worship and praises, I saw them, so over Jamai, yeah, they would have did Baba, and I yes, you Baba, yes, you Baba, Betty Boboli Baba.
Hello, you're welcome back, and today we start in earnest our discussion on junior high school. You've been with us every step of the way, right from the time we started discussing preschool. We wrapped up on upper primary education sometime last week, and we are beginning with the senior high school. And junior high school, we couldn't have had a better guest. This gentleman is young. He has about a decade experience in teaching. He teaches English and he's quite vocal. Frank Yeboah is our guest today. Frank,
yes, sir.
Thank you so much for making time. Frank.
It's a pleasure. Thank you,
Frank, you were in Legon, right?
Yes, I was.
Okay. You did English.
I did.
And then after some time, you decided to major in sociology.
Yeah, sociology.
And you did a little bit of study of modern religions.
Yeah.
Yes. First of all, as a teacher at the junior high school level, what has been your motivation to go into teaching to begin with? Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much. Now, motivation for me has been the fact that I know personally that I have something that I ought to give back to, the society that raised me and nurtured me to the level that I find myself, even before entering into the teaching field. So teaching for me came naturally, okay? It was something that I felt like a call for me, to also give back to society. And seriously, ever since I stepped into the classroom, it's been an experience for me. Right. I believe I have paid, my dues. I have been able to, impact lives, as it were. And speaking to you now, believe you me, there are so many people that sometimes I I run into, and some of them even, draw your attention to the fact that, yes, they once sat, before you, and you give them some, knowledge in the area that you find yourself in. And it's really a refreshing, feeling. You understand, to realize that, yes, these are people that you have had an influence on. Yeah. And most of them, to tell you the truth, most of them are doing well wherever they find themselves now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to the meat of the discussion.
Wow.
What do you make of course, at the junior high school level, you don't have any choice. It's at the senior high school that you decide what course to pursue, whether science or general arts or anything like that. How many subjects do you have at the level?
The junior high level now, students are supposed to take 9 subjects. Yeah, 9. 4 of them are core, and those are English language, mathematics, and then integrated science, as well as social studies. Okay. So those are the 4. And seriously, if you look at the way the BEC is graded, a student needs to pass these 4 core areas, and then you add any other 2, of the so-called non-core to do the grading for them.
So apart from the 4, the 5 remaining ones, you think they are not core subjects? So what goes into the selection? Can you decide which of the 5 to do, or everybody does, except Ghanaian language that differs from one geographical area to another?
Yes, that one. And then I think when it comes to technical, that is BDT, okay, basic design and technology or something, there too, students have got the option to choose between vocational skills, home economics, sorry, and then pre-technical skills. They have it. But even with that one, in Form 1, they do, BDT. They don't have any choice. It's when they are moving to Form 2 that they now decide whether to go in with
home economics or pre-tech. In our time, pre-tech was compulsory.
It was.
You had to write it during BC, and I hated the T-square and then that thing. Drawing has never been my thing, Frank.
Well, I can imagine.
Yes, drawing has never been my thing. Wow. Yes, that was how come I quit my engineering course at the university level and did public relations. That's good to know. Yes. So now, you teach English. We'll soon look at what goes into it. But do you think the kind of preparation you give them at the junior high school level gives them enough, preparation to go into senior high school? Or is business as usual? Anything extraordinary? I appreciate the fact that they have the choice of what to learn. In our time, we didn't. So how does that predispose them to seek higher or better education at the senior high school level?
Okay, thank you. Now, one thing I need to quickly, correct is this. It's not as if they have so much of a choice to make, okay? When I spoke of the core and then the non-core, yes, they are core, simply perhaps because they need to be considered first in grading the student after the BEC. You get it? But assuming you have the 4 and then the remaining 5, you are abysmal in all of them. Grading you certainly is going to become a problem. So in as much as we think the 4 are core, it is also important, okay, that a student does well in all the other subject areas, because mind you, it is any other 2 that you do well in as a student that will be added to the 4. I hope I have made that correct.
Yes.
So, and then when it comes to preparing the students for the senior high school, yes, of course, the teacher is supposed to give what he has. So for me, it is the knowledge I have gained over the years, having been in the classroom and interacting with several students. So what we do is that you don't stick to one way of handling the students. So you look at, let's say, this year, what is working for you in terms of the students that you have, and even the nature of the questions that we're giving to them at the BEC. But one thing that we face as teachers is also the inconsistencies that we find in the syllabus and the curriculum generally, because you realize that for my area, for instance, over a spate of, let's say, this 9 years that I've been in the classroom, we've had several changes to the curriculum, to the syllabus, and what have you. So when you, as a teacher, thought that you have now, come of age and you have a firm, grasp of the subject, before you realize there is a new thing that has been introduced into the system, and you need to readjust. So as I speak to you now, the English paper is now in 3 parts. You get it? So every now and then the teacher needs to be abreast with the trend.
Abreast of, right?
Abreast of, yes,
yeah.
with the times. Sorry. And so teachers are doing their best. Teachers are really doing their best. But it is the policy makers that I think will need to be consistent a bit more to help the teacher to also, you know, do what we can do.
Okay, we are still with Frank Yeboah. He's an educationist. You may join the conversation via WhatsApp, and the WhatsApp line to text us to is 0558 656899. Frank,
yes, sir.
You've scratched the surface on a thorny issue, the fluctuation in the policy decisions that are taken by state authorities are affecting you. So is there an avenue for you as a teacher? Do you do reviews? And do those reviews go beyond, you're an English teacher, go beyond your headmaster to reach the director of GS, for example? Or you can share your opinion.
Thank you very much. When it comes to opinions, I think where I work, for instance, yes, we have periodic in-service sessions that the school organizes for teachers, so that at such meetings, your observations, etc., you know, could be channeled or put forward to the authorities there. As to whether it gets beyond my school authorities is another question altogether, because I've been fortunate to, you know, engage some of these authorities, not where I am currently, but even before I came here, you know, there were instances school authorities will lament bitterly about the fact that GES, sub-metro GES officers call them to meetings, and it turns out to be like, you know, just an avenue for information, okay, to the school authorities. This is what GES wants schools to now do going forward. And I mean, take it or leave it, that is what the policy says, and schools are forced to go by them. Okay, so yes, I think that teachers deserve more. We deserve, yes, teachers deserve to have a better say, not only when it comes to our salaries and you know, issues to do with payment, no, but what happens in the classroom. Okay, yes, because I remember when I was in my former school, there was a colleague there. He was quite good, and he took it upon himself to, if like, come up with a draft document, sort of, where he cataloged many of these, you know, issues and problems. And if my memory serves me right,
it didn't get anywhere.
It didn't really get anywhere. It didn't get anywhere.
Okay, great. Still on stakeholder consultation, can you briefly tell us what the specific roles of the various stakeholders are? You've talked about the fact that teachers don't have a say in policy formulation, but at the institutional level, you are a school. Is there any way, is there any avenue for you to have a say as to what you teach the young ones at the junior high school level?
Well, thank you. Yes, to an extent. And I say this because as a teacher, you know, before you go to the classroom, you're supposed to have gotten your lesson notes prepared. And during the preparation of the lesson notes, of course, you are not limited in any way. Of course, the only limitation is that you have to stay within the parameters of what the syllabus, you know, allows you to do, of course. But then what information that you add to it and how you go about it, of course, there has to come some, you know, creativity from you, the teacher. So in that sense, I think teachers are free to, if like, experiment and try to think outside the box for students.
Okay, so you will shortly share what you have as your curriculum as an English teacher at the JHS level. You are saying that there is some liberty as to maybe in broad strokes you'll be told the areas to cover, but you are at liberty to tell whether they read a Shakespearean book or they read a Ghanaian author. Do you have that, you know, laxity?
For English language, you know, yes, it is yes and no, because even though per the syllabus, they give you a fair idea as to the sort of books that you may want to use, especially when it comes to reading and comprehension lessons. By far, the teacher is also supposed to, remain within a certain boundary. For instance, we have another aspect of the English language, that is literature. And the nature of the literature is such that now we have a book that was put forward, in fact suggested by, I think, the GES, if I may say so, yes, and that is the Cock Crow. And so the teacher in that regard is limited. It is the Cock Crow or nothing more. So it is a yes and no kind of situation that I see there. Yes, when it comes to reading and comprehension, like I said, you could vary the sort of books and stories that you share with the students. But of course, other aspects of the language too, you need to stay within a certain.
We go for a quick commercial break, and when we come back, I'll ask our guest what we used to call at junior high school Koima in the marking of composition essays. Please do stick and stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Abodie mu no wonim sɛ onyankopɔn ɛwɔ adoma a ɔde do moman bia saa akyɛdeɛ ɛyɛ nneɛma a ɛboa ma nipa nya ahotɔ ɛwɔ ne daadaa asetena mu nsuo mframa yɛaduane yɛnua kwaeɛ nhahama ɛne nnuro ahodoɔ mpo yɛ amammerɛ ɛne amanneɛ saa nneɛma ɛyɛ nneɛma a nyankopɔn de bɔ ɔman bia sɛdeɛ mbɛma emu nipa no anya ahotɔ enti na Kantanka television ahyehyɛ dwumadie sonko a yɛato no din sɛ yɛdiem ɛwɔ yɛdiem dwumadie so no na yɛkɔ Ghana mmea nyinaa ne yɛkɔ akɔfa nneɛma ahodoɔ a onyankopɔn de adom yɛn ɛne mfasoɔ a yɛnya no wɔ so saa nso ne yɛbɛhwɛ ahobammɔ sonko a yɛde bɛba saa nneɛma yi yɛtumi ahwɛ so yɛ ɛde yɛgya hɔ ɛde ama nkyirima sɛ meka yɛdiem a na wagye so sɛ papapaa yɛdiem papapaa
Made in Ghana, yediem. O me enjandi yama. Yediem made in Ghana. Yediem made in Ghana.
Hello, lovely people of Africa, African Youth Time. This is the show, as I rightly said, that gives African youth the platform to have an up-close with living legends who are helping build the continent.
The youth of Africa, they have a lot of potential.
What is killing Africans is our inability to discover and identify our potentials and what we can do for ourselves.
Nobody makes you a leader. You become a leader.
We are not poor. The resources in Congo alone can feed the whole Africa.
You're welcome back. You can keep your messages coming on 0558-656899, and that is via WhatsApp. And if we get opportunity, you may call on this very line if there is time. Frank Yeboah, I guess. Frank, welcome back.
Thank you.
And Frank, English is a very important subject, and your job is not an easy one. I don't envy you at all. But, I think, did I have one in English? I did, because I did quite well at the BEC level.
Wow.
And my teacher, I don't remember his name, he used to teach us a strategy. I don't know whether it's part of the curriculum. They called it COIMA, which is an abbreviation: content, organizational structure, organization, expression, and then mechanical accuracy.
Yes.
And take us through the various facets of an English paper. You don't do the oral test at the BEC level.
No.
So there is the objective, that tests
which
your
is
grammar.
Now paper 1.
Okay, and then you do comprehension and composition.
And then literature.
Okay, let's tackle composition first. COIMA, and what do you teach?
Well, so composition basically deals with taking students through the rudiments of essay writing, and then of course essay writing, both letters and then the ordinary essays like the descriptive and narrative essays, what have you. Yes, and of course we also deal with punctuation, capitalization, okay, because before a student can write a good essay, the person needs to understand what it takes to construct a meaningful sentence, and of course punctuation, plays a very vital role in that regard. So all of these things come together, okay, in training the child to be able to become a good writer. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So how do you assess young ones? Do they write good essays now, or because of the advent of social media and their shorthands they use that have affected their writing skills?
Yes, I think, yes, a lot of them are doing well. A lot of them are doing well, but I believe that a lot more could be done because, like you rightly mentioned, the social media thing is really affecting some of our students. Yes, you give essays to students to write, and some of them end up giving you shorthand, words, and so on and so forth. Yes, so at the end of the day, I believe that a lot more can be done. I don't know if by way of policy or, what nature it will come in, but seriously, we need to sit down and look at especially the reading habits of our children, okay, because many of them these days don't read as they should have been doing. And believe you me, as being a teacher of the English language, I know that, you are a good writer because you are a good reader. Okay, if you don't read, you are not able to write, and that's it. And I've also been writing. I did indicate that yes, I've been able to partner a colleague of mine to come up with, a book.
Yeah, so you have a book to your name.
Yes,
that is beautiful.
Together with a colleague of mine.
Great, congrats.
Yes, thank you. You see, so I realized that the problem is because many of them are not reading. That's a fact. Take it or leave it. It's a fact. Many of our children are not reading these days the way they should be doing. In fact, I think the television, these telenovelas, yes, are really, really impacting.
Okay, I'm sure you will have the opportunity to make some recommendations, but on stakeholder involvement, how do you as an English teacher involve the parents of these young wards if you've identified a deficiency, which is their lack of reading? How do you engage them at the PTA level, or you have ways of channeling some of those concerns to their parents?
Wow, thank you very much. Yes, I think the first point of call usually is the PTA level, because that is where the school is able to engage a large number of the parents. So at that level, usually I know that we drum home the point that parents have also got a role to play, okay, in how well or otherwise their children perform. Yeah, so we really, really get the parents to understand that they need to ensure that their children do some good reading at home. And of course, they should also cut down on the hours they spend behind the television set. So we do these things beyond the PTA to. My school, for instance, has got this open day session where parents are allowed to also come into the school, and it is at this level that parents and teachers get to interact one-on-one. Okay, and so at such times, usually the engagement is child-specific, so the parents are able to engage you to know how well or otherwise their children are doing, and of course they also take some recommendations from you. And personally, I do well to engage the parents. If it means recommending perhaps extra tuition for the child, I do. So whatever it is that the child needs, I do my best to inform the parents.
I don't remember us doing literature at the junior high school level.
Yes.
And the crow thing, the book you're talking about, the cock crow. So what does it entail, and how do you prepare them for BEC?
Wow. Okay, thank you. The cock crow basically is, if like
or
the
it
handbook.
teaches the usual things, simile,
no,
oxymoron, the things we learned at senior high school.
In fact, the cock crow and the concept of it is more practical, hands-on. Yes, because this time it's not like the similes and the metaphors and the onomatopoeias.
Sorry about that. You may now join us via phone. The number to call us on is 0558 656899. You are free to share your opinions or ask any questions. Okay.
Yes, thank you. So I was saying that yes, this is more practical. It is intended to assess, how the student is able to apply the literature, the knowledge they gain in the literature. I mean, the elements that they have to be studying. Yeah. So the Cockerel is a book that comes with selected poems, selected short stories, and then of course, I think one drama book. So basically what the teacher does is that you're supposed to take the children through all, the stuff in that book, prepare them adequately. So from Form 1 up to Form 3, the students are supposed to be reading the poems, be reading the short stories, and then the play. And of course, you engage them, you test them, whilst you are also guiding them in terms of how to answer the questions and, etc., etc. So
literature is no child's play.
Yes.
And so you did the English at some point at uni. How do they vet to make sure that if you're an English teacher at the JHS level, you have the knack and the expertise to tackle the various, aspects of the English paper with more emphasis on literature? Because you just can't understand the literature by doing self-tuition.
Well, somebody like me, because of my background, of course, the little English that I did at the university, the literature, and in fact, even if not the university, even at the SHS level, I did literature. So for me, it wasn't really a big deal. But for other people, what I see is that the literature is...
okay, sorry, we have a caller. Hello, your name and where you calling from?
My name is Mr. Samson, calling from...
Hello, caller.
Yeah, hello. I said my name is Mr. Samson Awoshi.
Okay, you're calling us from Awoshi. Okay, what's on your mind?
I want to ask the teacher.
And lower the volume on your set. You can actually put it off and we can still hear you.
Okay. I'm from the teacher. You're having the program.
Oh, your line is so terrible. Your line is quite terrible. I don't know. You can drop the line and try it again.
Hello?
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing.
Can you lower the volume on your set or put off your TV entirely and we can hear you?
It's off.
Okay.
I'm lowered.
Okay, feel free. Okay.
I want to ask you that how can we be able to learn? The person can know what is how to learn, how to learn. This is what I want to teach us.
Okay, thank you.
Child, you're from school, maybe they are learning like 10 or 12. So how can he, for him to be able to know what is learning? What I want to...
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your call. A caller from Awoshi, even though the line has not been too gracious. Yeah. For somebody who is out of school, English is an international language now. Maybe he's a mechanic now, but he got to a certain level and left. Not literature per se. How can the person continue to be a good reader?
Okay. Number one, what I think one needs to be a good reader is that self-motivation. Okay, you need to know where you find yourself and where you want to go. Okay, so once you have that core, that edge within you, of course, I mean, and people will even argue that self-education, self-tuition is far better, or if you like, it's equally important. So once the individual is willing, okay, to help him or herself, better, himself or develop himself, that is I think the number one important thing that one needs to be able to do reading. And then of course, I also think that the kind of books that you read, okay, so the moment you realize that there is a certain vacuum and you need to fill that, and it is only through reading that you can do that, then you begin to associate with people who also enjoy reading, okay, who have got, some content to share with you. You understand? Because it is said that your entourage will determine your destination. So once you know that you've got somewhere to find yourself in the, the near future, why not Yes, you need to begin to associate with people who are self-motivated.
Okay, there's another caller. Hello, your name and where you calling us from?
Please, my name is John Christian. I'm calling you from Kumasi.
Hello, caller.
Hello.
Okay, I think the line wasn't too stable. Okay, so I think you can try again. The very few minutes we have, we'll graciously want to listen to you.
Okay.
You touched comprehensively on literature, and then we discussed composition. Then okay, hello, caller. Hello, caller. Okay. Yeah, comprehension.
Yes.
Yes, comprehension, scanning, skimming, you know, and some people can't read the same text twice. So at the junior high school level, okay. Hello, can you hear me now?
Please, yes, I can hear you.
Hello, caller.
Hello, I can hear you, Mr. Ibrahim.
Hello, caller.
Hello, please, I can hear you.
So comprehension, they said we should skim, scan, and then begin maybe, you know, answer a few thoughts, you know, write down a few thoughts before actually looking at the questions. So what strategy do you teach the junior high school students now before BC?
Well, for me, what I do is, of course, you can't forego, you know, these technical,
these are age-old tricks.
Yes, and they still work, you know, to a very large extent. They still work. But for me, you know, now, you know, you need to strike a balance, okay, as a teacher. A friend of mine was saying that he once asked the parent, do you want me to teach your child to pass the exam, or you want me to teach your child so that he becomes knowledgeable? You get it?
Yes, sir.
I see that the nature of the paper now.
Okay, let's see if the line will be better now. Hello, your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Prince.
Prince, where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Asham.
Okay, and speak a little up, speak up a bit, yeah.
Yeah, I'm calling from Asham.
Okay, please feel free. Okay.
Yeah. The problem, what I wanted to know is, why must be forced to take this cross subject, this 4 core? Why must they force it on our kids to learn? Maybe I don't speak in English, and I wanted to do a different thing. So why must I pass this 4 core before I get access to the university?
Okay, Prince, your question is quite clear. Thank you so much. Why EMS and social studies? Why should it be a sine qua non, so to speak, for you to take these as core subjects at the junior high school level?
Wow. Okay, thank you. I think the thinking in that regard is, take for instance English language. I mean, it's a global language now, yes, and to be able to do well, even when you are studying mathematics, you need English language as a medium of communication.
Yes,
so the English language cuts across all spheres, okay, of our society. And then, of course, mathematics. I don't think we can overemphasize the usefulness of mathematics. Look, if you want to become a surgeon, if you want to become a pilot, whatever it is that you want to become in the future, you need some, you know, mathematics of a sort. Of course, we could argue about the topics, you know, that we overload the children with, because that is what I see. Okay, we could streamline things such that even if mathematics is core, given the level that the student finds himself or herself, there would only be, you know, a number of the topics in mathematics that the student is supposed to, if like, concern himself or herself with, so that you don't need to do mathematics generally. You get it? So the EMS or the core subject thing, I think that for now, and per the thinking that went into the structure of our educational system, we can't go without it. We can't really go without it. Yes, we need mathematics, we need English language. And maybe we could look at the areas of integrated science and then social studies. But think of it, look, science. Now, given the global village that we find ourselves in, science, technical subjects are becoming obviously very, very important, yes. So I think it's the thinking is that we want to give our children a fair start, you know, so that once they progress into the universities and the secondary schools, they have a firm, you know, understanding what the science entails and so on and so forth.
At this juncture, we invite Abena Safo, my colleague, to read some of your WhatsApp messages. Abena, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, great. What do you have for us by way of messages, text messages?
Well, we've got some, tremendous text messages today. Nice program. Good job, Kantanka TV. That's from Abdul from Paga. I wish students should be taken through course selection process from basic school, because that will help them identify their potential before getting to the senior high. Selassie from Ho sent in this one.
Abena, can he tackle this question? With the subject selection, and that is a central theme in what talent the kids have, maybe from preschool level or lower primary level, so that if it is drawing you are good at, you stick to it. So you have no business doing mathematics. Just as a caller also asks, why should it be forced? Why should it be compulsory for people to take those core subjects?
All right. Thank you very much. For me, at this level, what I have seen is that we can't entirely, scrape off, you know, some of these core subjects. For instance, the mathematics and then the English language that I spoke about. I feel that, look, take the Indian example. Okay, India, what I gather is that as a matter of the core subject, what they have is just mathematics. Okay, and what I see is that because they have made mathematics their core, no wonder India seems to be spearheading, you know, the advancements in IT and medicine and so on and so forth that we have. Yes. So yes, I think that when it comes to guiding the students in selecting their courses, it is vital. It is important. Yes. Maybe the number of courses that we do at the various levels, we need a rethink. We really need to consider reducing, you know, the number of subjects that the students
Thank you so much. Abena.
Okay, and then the next one says, I feel course selection is the role of both parent and teachers, because they are more close to the students more. Alice from Takrady sent in this one. I congratulate teachers for the great jobs they are doing in Ghana. God will surely reward them. Alicia from UG, University of Ghana, sent in this one. And then this one is actually a question. That's HND holders qualified to teach at the basic level.
Okay.
Abu from Nandom sent in this one.
Okay, Abena, I'm sure you have other messages. You are teaching with a degree at the JHS level. And sometime last week, there was a communique that if you don't have a PhD, then you can't teach at the tertiary level. So at your level, who sets the yardsticks? Who sets the parameters for who qualifies to teach English, a very important subject like this at the JHS level?
Unfortunately, what I think the situation is, it is open and subject to the judgment of the school owner. An issue as vital as this, it is the school owners. So, I mean, depending on what budget they have, they go in for who they can pay at the end of the day.
So they can hire an HND holder because they have a small budget, or they can go for someone with a master's degree.
With a master's degree, you get it. And I think that shouldn't be the case, because if we find it expedient to regulate who teaches at the tertiary level, why not at the grassroots level, so to speak, the preparatory grounds where the kids are groomed, okay, before they enter the tertiary institutions. So I think we are getting it all wrong in that regard.
Abena, you wrap up with the messages.
Okay. I really enjoy the show. Course selection is very crucial, hence needs to be taken very seriously by our educational authorities. Dr. Abu sent in this one from Tamale. I am Nathaniel from St. Thomas Aquinas Senior High in Cantonment. I really love the objects of the show. I wish you can hint the topic more for appropriate measures to be taken, to be put in place for the success of the young and the growing generation. And Another one also says, what measures are put in place to evaluate the performance students per their courses selection? Salifu from WA sent in this one. That is how we come to Crossroads on our social media segments for today.
Okay,
Herbert,
thank you so much, Abena Safo. Thank you so much. Quite a mouthful. Let's begin to wrap up, Frank. Yeah. Frank, we've identified some of the loopholes. And thank God you are in private practice, so you can speak your mind. You can be no holds barred. So you are not transferred to a place where you will take a canoe before you get to school. So what would be some of the recommendations you would make at the GHS level?
Okay, so for me at the GHS level, I think the first thing I will say is that when it comes to taking on teachers, okay, like I said, it shouldn't be left so open, because seriously, the teacher is central to whatever it is that we achieve in educating our population. So I think by way of government policy or whichever form it takes, there ought to be some regulation, okay, as to who qualifies to teach what and at what level. We shouldn't just peg it at the tertiary level and leave it open at the basic and secondary level. So that is number one. So we really need to, you know, identify what the stakes are and how we go on to deal with them. Then the other thing too is that I think that a lot of the parents that we have these days, yes, many parents are doing their best, but I think their best is not enough. They so freely allow their kids to watch what they want to watch, okay, at such an early age as you know, class 5. Children now are given mobile phones, okay, with internet connectivity, what have you, and they can, you know, explore any site that they so wish, okay. They watch TV, you know, hours on end, and all of these things are like impacting negatively on our education as a country. So in that regard, I think that stakeholders, especially parents, okay, who are supposed to regulate our children in the home, need to also up their game, okay, so that, yes, they meet the teachers halfway through.
Maybe you will take us home by answering this question. Our educational system is heavy on theory and quite light on practicals.
Yes.
So after all the literature, the composition, the comprehension, what do you think we can do to practicalize knowledge rather than theorizing it, so to speak?
Thank you. I think that the curriculum itself has to change. Okay, you know, the world is so fast changing that now it is entrepreneurship.
Do that in a minute, if
yes,
you may.
It is entrepreneurship. You know, that is the order of the day. So I think that the theories need to be reduced, and then of course issues with entrepreneurship has to be the order of the day. The curriculum has to really now favor entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Yes.
And thank you so much. Frank Yeboah has been our guest. He's an educationist. Frank, it's been a pleasure having you.
Pleasure.
So we come your way on Wednesday with another edition of News Magazine. Stay blessed and keep watching Kantanka TV. Enjoy the rest of your day.